Well, what we saw in the air was, and on the ground, we saw a tremendous amount of cooperation. Everybody's working very hard. They're channeling all that anxiety into protecting their property. They're ensuring that they're helping out their neighbors. The military is working very closely with the local volunteers and the local officials and provincial officials. So we've seen a lot of properties that have been protected. The water is being released slowly, as you folks know, from this morning, and it's gone about a mile to the southeast of us. And they put a cut in the road to move it away from some of the homes in the area. So far it's been gone as predicted. It's been a controlled release that has not done any damage to anybody's homes at this stage of the game.
Premier, describe what you're seeing up there, though, in detail for our listeners.
What I'm seeing is a slow release of water onto farming fields in the area. I've seen a tremendous amount of sandbagging and aquadams put around homes. So most of the properties are well protected in the early stages of the release of the water. And overall, what I've seen is more cooperation, and that's one of the things we've established this morning with the Reeve Blight, and Candace Hefner, the Member of Parliament. Everybody's seized of how they can be as helpful as possible to the people in the area who are the ones experiencing the most stress and have the biggest challenge ahead of them. But it's going very well in terms of everybody's ability to respond and put resources in place to protect their homes and their properties.
How much damage are you money going to flow?
We're not seeing any damage other than the water being on the fields, and that obviously will be very significant for the people that make a living off those properties. So we are seeing water on the field. It's just starting. It's only about a mile in right now. We have seen no homes that have been negatively impacted. I didn't see any. But overall, we're seeing the water slowly come into the area, a little slower than people had originally anticipated.
How fast is compensation going to flow? That's what farmers want to know. Farmers who are staring down this water.
As the existing programs are already in place, we will have a special program, as I've made the point several times, and that program will be ready very, very soon.
Mr. Premier, how long before we see any homes actually flooded?
I would hope we don't see it. And right now, people are directing the water to minimize damage for homes, and that's what's going on. So I would hope we wouldn't see it. Where we have seen homes that are in the potential pathway, we've seen diking around them. We've seen aquadams around them. So the military and the local personnel have done a tremendous job of getting out there and being ahead of this thing. And every minute counts to allow people to get more protection.
How fast is the water moving?
Slowly. It's moving slowly. It's just sort of seeping out there. You don't see a rush or a torrent of water, but you see it slowly spreading on the fields and sort of moving southeast towards the LaSalle system.
Greg, is it planned to cut roads, cut driveways, that type of thing?
Where we see,
ASAP?
Yeah, the idea is where they see and this is where the surveying work has been very helpful, where they see the opportunity to move the water and minimize damage for people in the area, there's going to be cuts in the roads to do that. Because the roads can be rebuilt very quickly. We already have the program in place to do that. The Disaster Financial Assistance Program will cut in right away to fix up all the roads when necessary.
How many days will it take until all the water reaches the 225 square kilometers?
It really depends on how much flow they let out, and our officials are monitoring how much water is coming into the system. There's about 52,000 cubic feet a second coming west towards Portage La Prairie. They've just about maxed out the amount they can put through the diversion, up to 34,000. There's about 18,000 going into the river on the east side of the diversion, and if there's more water coming, then there will have to be an increased release into the area of the Hoop and Holler opening.
So we're talking, it may never reach 225 square kilometers, or it may take weeks?
It really depends on how much water we get. Right now, the slow release is working. They do anticipate ramping it up some more, and our technical officials will advise us every day what's necessary to minimize damage everywhere in the valley.
And this was a necessity, this had to be done?
This was a necessity because a catastrophic overflow would have taken all the people in this area and around it. They would have had up to five times more damage if the river opened up. There could have been 15,000 cubic feet a second. Right now we're talking about 500 to 1,000 cubic feet a second in the next 24 hours. So it's all about trying to manage the water in a way that you can minimize harm to people and their property. That's the whole single objective here. And there has been this idea that somehow this is protecting Winnipeg. Winnipeg is not at risk. This is about protecting rural people and rural properties and rural communities. Winnipeg has crested. There's lots of extra capacity there once it gets into the LaSalle River. It's about protecting rural Manitoba and communities as much as possible.
The military is still can,
Yes.
and I'm told that they will continue to do that
Yes.
until it's safe. But we're still not out of harm's way in terms of an uncontrolled breach.
No, the dikes are very stressed with the amount of water going through it, which is why we've had to do this opening here for a controlled release. And if the dikes get extremely stressed, there's the first response is all the helicopters that are going in with the military to put extra sandbags in place, and they've been very effective at doing that. We had up to 9 helicopters operating yesterday. The general has informed me that he's got some military helicopters coming on stream to add additional ability to do that, and they've got all the hot spots identified, and where they see the necessity to reinforce the dike, they are doing that. But that does not mean something couldn't spring up very quickly that would be a surprise. I mean, this is unprecedented territory. We've never seen this much water, and things can happen. But the good news is there's 24/7 surveillance going on. This good weather helps. The skies are open. They've got the technology now, and some of the military helicopters, they can get right down from a helicopter and zero right in within feet to see what's going on a dike and see what needs to be done.
When do you think we'll be out of, I guess, the danger zone in terms of uncontrolled breaches?
I don't think we can forecast that right now. I think we have to monitor that dike every single minute, every single hour of every day to see what's happening with it. And that is an ongoing process, both from the air and on the ground. The good news is that the weather stays dry and sunny. It makes it easier to access the dikes on the ground and get a better read on what's going on with them.
People are complaining about the lack of...
increase that flow level to about 3,000 feet.
There is the real possibility, depending on what comes to us from the west, that the flow will have to be increased up to 3,000, yes.
Is there a timeline for that at all? Or
It'll entirely depend on what our technical officials advise us that we have to do. They're monitoring it, they will give advice, and they will decide and give us a recommendation on how they will.
Weeks, no idea.
I think it'll ramp up over the next week or so, but we will have to see. As you know, it still hasn't peaked in Brandon, and we have a lot of apparently rain in the North Dakota area, which is coming into the Souris system, and every day we get new readings from our officials, and they advise us on what's necessary to minimize damage to people and property in rural Manitoba.
The people are complaining that they did not get the information they needed in a timely
There's
fashion.
no question that the information has come very, very late in the game as new information was made available. We've had very serious weather events, and they're still unfolding in the watershed around here. And the citizens have every right to be concerned about not getting information as soon as possible, and we have redoubled our efforts with the local municipality, with the military, to get information out to people. But they are right to be concerned because this is a late breaking event here, and it was this last week. We've gone from Sunday, when I called the Prime Minister to get the military here, to this Saturday. We've seen a tremendous amount of progress in protecting property and people seizing the opportunity to cooperate and work with each other. We've come a long way in a week. Everybody wishes that there was more information more rapidly. As the information comes available, we release it to the people and work closely with them to solve the problem.
So why are they all prepared in Eli for the water, which is going to get there in 8 days, and then just down the road here in Oakville, they're still frantically sandbagging?
Everybody's responding with their local capacity, and we're going in to help them with the military. So it's all about getting the resources to where the hot spots are. And where we see a pressure point, we respond and move resources there.
And will you have to evacuate any homes tonight, or
that'll be the call of the local emergency operations committees. The Reeve here will make a call if he sees a property that needs evacuation. He will take that call and make that decision because he's on top of it.
Let's get Cam here.
Yeah.
Get Cam over here.
Cam, are you how many people with what you saw today?
In all honesty, yes, I am. I understand that there is going to be more water to come, but as of what I've seen from the ground and from the air, I feel a lot more relaxed about the situation. We do have people on top of things, monitoring where the water is going and helping direct it to where it needs to be. I see a lot of our properties are protected as we had hoped they would be, and right now I'm very pleased with what I have seen, all things considered.
Now you challenged the province's numbers from day one. They're saying 150, you're saying double. What do you think now?
Based on the information and the maps that we were provided early in the game, I do stand by my numbers. However, it all depends on where the water is going to go and how much water is released. It could be as little as, I'm not sure what the numbers could be as little as, but 150 to 300 homes, absolutely.
How many people have been evacuated and how many could be?
In this immediate area, we have 14 homes that are evacuated. We did a mandatory evacuation of 4 other homes near the dikes along 430. And we have roughly 244 voluntary evacuations out right now.
That's a lot of people.
That it is.
Are all the homes that need to be protected right now?
we're doing our best, and I feel that we are ahead of the game, we're ahead of the water, and I'm very comfortable with the situation that we're in.
And how do you feel about how this whole event was managed? You were critical earlier in the week, you two talking about not getting information. How do you feel about how it was managed?
Absolutely. The information was slow to come to begin with. It has definitely improved over the last few days. I really compliment the provincial government in stepping up in that regard and trying to keep us in the loop as best they can. And we do understand that it's very difficult to make recommendations and pass along information when they're not getting the information as quick as they would like either, and it's always changing. I feel we've made great strides in that regard, and I feel a lot more comfortable and confident in the position we're in right now.
And what are residents telling you?
Unfortunately, I'm kind of away from a lot of the residents' phone calls, but I do know that everybody's kind of accepted the fact that this is happening, and it's going to continue to happen over the next wee while, and they've banded together and they're doing what they can to help each other out and be prepared as possible.
Are people going to be properly, adequately compensated, do you think, for all of their losses? There's going to be thousands of acres of farmland. Are they going to get enough, you think?
Let me comment on that. I've said in the address I gave last night, we'll compensate people for the damage to their properties. We'll compensate them for income loss, and we'll have a program for recovery of the land. And it'll go beyond the parameters of the existing programs, whether it's disaster financial assistance or agri recovery. We'll design a program that goes beyond those normal parameters. I've discussed this with the Prime Minister. My sense is he had a very open mind on this subject. We've already got a commitment with the federal government to do more mitigation and to cover some of the mitigation. The first objective has always been to minimize damage, and I'm very pleased the federal government has decided to support us on that principle. We went out and made those investments early on, strengthening the dikes. When it comes to the compensation program, we are going to be very fair about it, and we're going to ensure that we do everything we can to make sure people can carry on and make a living in this area.
But shouldn't it be better than fair? Because at the end of the day, you're
If you
want to
call
homes, right? So do they get any kind of bonus? Or
well, that's why
reward
it's a
for being
special
sacrificial
compensation
land?
program. That's why it's a special compensation program. We know that this area would be 5 feet underwater right now without the extra dikes that we have done. But the reality is, because the people are playing a special role in storing water in this community, they deserve special compensation, and they will get it.
And I mean, you talk to people in the Red River Valley, and a lot of them are still waiting for compensation. So there's a lot of skepticism out there about this compensation flowing quickly and flowing adequately.
Yeah. And that'll be our challenge, is to make sure we flow it quickly, and we'll make every effort to do that. And I got a feeling that if we're not doing something properly, you'll be back asking me about it.
Sure will.
Okay, and that's your job, and you'll keep our feet to the fire, and we'll do the job as best we can and move things along. I mean, it's all about responding to the needs of the people out here and making sure that they can get their lives back as normal as possible, as quickly as possible. You'll do your job, we'll do our job, and we'll make our very best efforts to serve the people of the area.
So what town is the water flowing to right now?
Well, it's flowing just a mile to the southeast of here, and
The first community it'll hit will be Newton, Manitoba.
And what time will it get there?
I cannot answer that question. It all depends on the flows and volumes of water that are being released.
Can you give them a general idea of when to expect this water? Or should they be looking out of their backyards and watching the water come?
Well, I think they're going to have to be patiently awaiting the water. It is not moving very fast. Last time I checked, I could walk faster than the water is moving, and it is moving towards the Elm River Channel, and the Elm River Channel will absorb the majority of that water, if not all.
Residents are worried that it's going to overflow the Elm Creek.
Oh, quite possibly, but that's based on higher flows or CFS. And right now, you have to remember that we're only looking at close to 500 CFS release at this point.
Excellent. Thank you.
thank you, folks. Any other questions?
That's it.
Okay.